All right.
You guys are going to like this poem, I promise.
I really, really don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to be really sad. Especially because I got to stay up till fucking 1 a.m. to watch these bums.
All right. Let's do it. All right, welcome back to the Boys 161st Street Action Network betting series. I'm Damon, joined by BJ and Chandler. So I saw the C in Chandler. I've had a rough day today. Joined by BJ and Chandler. Maybe that was on purpose because I'm still kind of salty at BJ for being a Red Sox fan. But
it makes you feel better. I called Colin BJ last week, so.
All right, so we gave each of them one mispronunciation.
Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, how we doing today?
I'm wonderful, guys. How are you guys doing?
Very bad.
Very bad.
I got to watch the Yankees play at 10 o'clock at night and lose to a team they shouldn't lose to. So
I feel like every time we talk, I'm always like, if you want to listen to us grieve about the Yankees, go watch our previous episode. Like, I feel like that's just like the common.
There's a lot of sadness, and the people that are listening to this are more than likely also in the same boat.
Yeah. Well, the good news is your season's over, so you don't have to worry about, the whole second half, right? You get to enjoy the rest of the summer and the fall.
The last time we talked to you, you told me to get over it and that it was going to be just
fine. I owe you
but...
guys a huge apology for that. I was dead wrong, and I'm sorry.
For giving us hope, you owe us an apology.
Yeah, and I do owe you an apology because I was dead wrong. I tried to give you guys hope, and there just wasn't any hope.
I mean, you should have listened to us. You should have listened to us, and we said it was
You're
over.
right, and you're right. You know what? I was completely wrong. You guys were right.
We listened to you about gambling. That's all I'm saying.
Well, in ode to the Yankee season being over, I wrote you guys a poem tonight. And I hope you guys really enjoy it.
Let's hear it.
I got a feeling I'm not going to enjoy it, but go ahead.
The Yankees came into the season filled with hope and glee. Garrett Cole was going to win the Cy Young and Aaron Judge the MVP. Suddenly, the bats went quiet and injuries grew. The AL East started to slip away like walking on the morning dew. Things surely would have turned around when Boston came to town, but the Red Sox showed why they are deserving of the AL East crown. Now the Yankees are so far back, it's difficult to see that the most successful franchise in baseball is not what they used to be.
Wow.
All right.
That hurt on so many different levels.
Everybody have a good night. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. And
yeah. So after that, everyone go follow us on the action. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Well, kudos to you. That's actually a really good poem, lyrically.
Yeah. You know what? I literally just wrote this like 10 minutes before. So it's probably the first poem I've written since middle school. But
it's a young Edgar Allan Poe over there.
Yeah.
Right. Well, when you're passionate about a topic, guys, the words just come to you. So
there you go. All right. Well, speaking of Yankees struggles and Red Sox, somehow leading the AL East right now, let's get into today's topics. So first, we want to talk about. We're talking about updated playoff odds for the AL East specifically. We did a different episode where we talked about the whole entire league. We'll probably do that again sometime soon. But right now, I really want to talk about the AL East and main focus there. Obviously, I think, Chandler, you said some stat before that if the Yankees were to win the AL East, they would have to have the best second half in MLB history.
Yeah, something like that. It was something crazy. It was like they would have to have like a 680 win percentage over the last 80 games.
Yeah.
Just so that's done. Just everybody who's a positive Yankee fan that's like, there's still half a year baseball, asshole. Just no. There's not. Yeah, there's still a half a year baseball, but it doesn't mean dick. So sorry to burst your bubble.
Yeah. So we're still,
sad.
We're sad, but we do, we're focused on the reality. We're going to be realistic Yankees fans. We're going to try and be realistic when we're trying to cover them and talk about them. So in order to be realistic, we're really only gonna make the playoffs if we hit the wild card spot. That's gonna be realistic. So right now the Rays are on the top, leading the AL wild card, followed by the Oakland Athletics. And there's the Mariners, Blue Jays, Indians, and then we have the Yankees, who are 10.5 games out of the wild card spot right now. Not looking great. Again, only half a season. We have a whole half a season to try and make that up, but realistically, that's the only way we're going to make the playoffs this year. So, BJ, what do you got for us in terms of who are your predictions to make the AL wild card this year?
Yeah, for me, it starts with the Blue Jays, who are currently 4 games back of the wild card. Even if you just look at the run differential, the Blue Jays have a plus 73 run differential, which is actually the 4th best in the AL. And really, what the Blue Jays do is they do pretty much everything well. They are a fantastic offense. They're top 10 in weighted on base average, weighted runs created plus. They hit almost every single pitch well, especially fastballs. They have a really good bullpen that's top 10 their bullpen is middle of the road in xFIP, but their starting pitching has actually been pretty good. It's actually, as a unit, they're top 10 in xFIP. And, the guy you look around or up and down their starting rotation with guys like, Ryu, Steven Matz, Robbie Ray, those type of guys, they don't really jump off the page, but they've been pitching pretty well to this point in the season. And honestly, I think their offense can carry them to the wild card. So they'd be my first one to actually make the playoffs. If they're right now, I don't know what their odds currently are, but if they're minus 150 or better, I think that's a fantastic bet, especially given their crazy run differential right now. And the second team, unfortunately, it's not going to be the Yankees. I think it's going to be Oakland because Oakland's offense is fantastic. They hit righties and lefties well. They have a really good starting rotation. Their only problem right now is their bullpen is kind of due for some negative aggression. They haven't been that good, but they do have some talent in that bullpen. So I do think that right now, Oakland having a 5 or 6 game lead, 5-game lead over the Yankees, I think that might just be a little bit too much for the Yankees to overcome. So I think it's going to be the Blue Jays and the A's, and I think if you can get either one of those teams to make the playoffs at minus 150 or better, I think that's a good bet.
So a little kind of off topic, but also the same. I know it's kind of that midpoint where stats are starting to stabilize a little bit. That's kind of what the big pro bettors and stuff like that look for, is some sort of consistency. What do you do typically when you're handicapping a game or you're picking whatever? What stats do you look at the most and highlight now that you kind of have a big body of work to look at?
Yeah, so for me, it first starts out, I do have, projection model that I use where I can figure out, value and everything like that. And once I use that basically as a jumping off point to figure out, which games I'm targeting that have the most value. And then once I go beyond that, usually what I do is I go to Fangraphs and I look at each of the starting pitchers. I take a look at their xERA, their xFIP, their WHIP, what opponents are hitting against them, their home run per 9 rate, walk per 9 rate. I really just kind of target those type of stats that, number one, with xERA and xFIP truly tell us how good a pitcher is. And then going beyond that, WHIP and average against just gives us kind of a general feel of how hitters are doing against them. And then, large home run and walk per 9 rates are always really concerning, and low ones are very good. It can tell you how good a pitcher's control is. And then from there, I look at the offenses and their splits versus whether it's a left-hander or a right-hander. If that all goes well, basically, then I go into Baseball Savant is a wonderful tool. It can tell, you can look up any player, and it can give you a really detailed breakdown, especially with starting pitchers, and give you a real good breakdown of each pitch they throw, how often they throw it, and how hitters are doing against it. So I like to see what pitches are those guys successful with. So if a guy is good with his fastball and the slider, well, then I go back to Fangraphs, and under if you go to just team stats, under I believe it's the pitch value, it can tell you exactly the rankings of each player, each team, how they do against each pitch. So if it's a good matchup, essentially, either you have a good starting pitcher and the opponent doesn't hit left-handers or maybe fastballs or sliders well, it's just trying to match everything up almost like a puzzle and let it all come together to really figure out if the matchup is good or not. And not every matchup is going to be perfect. There's going to be some weaknesses and some strengths with each one. But I think really starting off with a projection and figuring out, what line I'm looking for with each team, I think is a good start. And then going into those detailed stats to find out the good matchups. Because the reality is if you really don't have if you don't have a starting point or whatever, if you look at a team that's favored by a ton, yeah, their matchup's going to look fantastic, against a really bad team. But if you just continually are betting those, like we've talked about a couple previous times, you're not going to actually make that much money. So, on the Action Network app, my colleague Sean Zarilla has a projection model out on there that gives everybody, the exact total and line that he projects, and he's done a fantastic job over the years with his ROI on that. So that can be a great jumping off point for people. But if you're really looking to dig into those stats, yeah, the first step is looking at how hitters are when they're facing a left-hander or right-handed pitching, and then from there going into the pitch breakdown is what I like to go into, because I think it really does matter if teams are successful or not successful against certain pitches.
Mm-hmm. Have there been some teams that you've been riding frequently? That was kind of midway point, and they've kind of leveled off a little bit.
Yeah, I would say, well, right now the team I feel like I'm riding more often every single day is the Marlins, just because
Really?
they have good starting pitching and they do have a good bullpen. They just don't really have a great offense. So you're finding them a lot of times with guys. I think tonight, Pablo Lopez, I think, is on the mound. Yeah, I think he was an underdog to Tony Gonsolin. He's a much better starting pitcher than Tony Gonsolin is. And actually the Marlins bullpen is better than the Dodgers, but the Dodgers offense is just leaps and bounds better than the Marlins. But so I'm kind of those type of teams, you can target. I also like to kind of target teams that maybe are really good in one aspect. So like the Twins are another team I've been betting quite a bit, just because their offense is unbelievable. And if they can get a somewhat decent starting pitcher on the mound, I think I bet them tonight against the White Sox with Berrios on the mound. So those are kind of the teams I've been targeting at least lately. And I think as we go into the second half of the season, I think some of those teams near the bottom that actually have some success, at least one aspect of baseball, whether it be offense, starting pitching, or bullpen, I think you'll start to see that there will be more value on them as they become, bigger and bigger underdogs as they, get farther and farther away from any division lead.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it in a broad sense. It's pick a team that is really, really well in one category, maybe facing a team that's struggling in the opposite category, and kind of finding those, because then those in-depth stats are awesome, and I wish I had the time to go through all those and make my picks based on all those statistics, but that's a cool way to look at it in a broad scope. Then you can get deeper and deeper into those more in-depth stats based on that broader sense.
Yeah, especially even just from a split perspective of left versus right-handed pitching, because there are, if you look through the left-handed pitching or left-handed against left-handed pitching, there are some bad teams out there that are actually good versus lefties. So it actually gives you some value on those nights. And actually, one of my picks for later tonight is going to be that, or for tomorrow is going to be one of those exact same scenarios. So even just kind of knowing, in a general sense, who's good versus right, left-handed pitching, who's good versus fastball, sliders, whatever it might be, does give you kind of a good idea whether, and it could, speed up the process of basically saying for example, the Twins are the best fastball hitting team in baseball, but they're 15 below 500. So if you go into Baseball Savant, you see they're facing a guy who throws a fastball over 50% of the time. You're like, oh, okay, well, they're going to have at least somewhat of a good matchup on offense. So they might have some value as an underdog.
Yeah. That's a very simple, very, very powerful stat to be aware of when you're placing bets. Going into a little more in-depth analysis of the betting aspect of all this, I wanted you to kind of go through some of these, the 5 signals that Action Network uses. I think it's only in their pro feature for inside their app. And to be honest, I know nothing about these. This is gonna be my first time learning about them. Chandler might know a little bit more about those than me, but I'd love if you just kind of go through the 5 signals, essentially what they are first as a broad.
Yep.
What are the 5 signals? What do they mean? What do they tell you? And then kind of go into each little one into a little more in depth.
Yeah, so there's 5 little icons. So if you have the pro report, and if you don't, it's only $20 a month, so it's less than $1 a day, and you can go on the Action Network, but you get basically everything that the Action Network provides. You get money percentages, premium articles, the pro picks, pro line alerts, the sharp action report, prop projections, fantasy tools, pretty much everything that we offer, you get. So there's 5 little icons. There's one that looks like a knife. That is the sharp action indicator. So what that means is our Sports Insights bets signals data has throughout the years found essentially the bettors that have well respected by the sports books and have a winning record, and those are the guys who essentially that are either betting large sums of money to move those lines. So if you go in there and you see that icon is highlighted, that means that somebody with smart money is betting. There's a lot of smart money betting on that team.
So someone's smarter than you. Go for it, Chandler.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
You have sharp bettors, whatever. What is the dollar amount typically that somebody would have to bet? I don't know if you would know this to actually like influence a line.
It really depends on the hold for whatever game you're looking at. So if you're looking at an NFL game, it's going to be quite a lot of money to be able to move a line. But if you're looking at, some type of smaller, soccer game or whatever, it might be a smaller amount of money. It just really depends on the sports book and how much basically they've been dinged over the years by that certain person to allow it, basically to move those lines based on whoever's betting it. And it really just depends on, what game you're looking at. So
that's cool. I was always just curious about that because obviously my like $25 bet isn't going to fucking swing anything. I just, I was like, good God, this has moved 20 points in one direction. I know that could be from an influx of a lot of people, but they have the sharp reports and stuff like that. I just like, God, I can't imagine having enough money to actually sway an entire book. So
yeah, it would be nice, right?
Yeah. Hey, maybe one day.
Yeah. The next one, it looks like a little money bag. That is the big money indicator. Now this is basically saying that the large percentage of the money wagered is on this one team. And it doesn't mean it could be smart or dumb money. It could be whatever, but the majority of the money is on this team. So if you combine, the indicators of the sharp action with the big money indicator, you can see that not only is there smart money on it, but there's also a lot of money on it. So you can kind of use those two intertwined together to see where the big and smart money is being placed. So the next one is, it looks like what are those things in chemistry? A beaker?
Yeah, beaker. Yeah.
Beaker. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't very good at chemistry.
To be honest, I was going to spend the next 10 minutes trying to figure out what it was called. So that was a good job.
You don't need chemistry to be a pro gambler.
That's right. So that is our pro systems report. So this uses our Bet Labs software, and it's basically trends and other type of systems that are handpicked by our analysts that basically have won over a large period of time. So Bet Labs has been tracking data all the way back to 2003. So they basically use the largest possible sample size for whatever type of trend or system it might be, whether it be, home underdogs, wind report, whether the wind's blowing out or in, or certain managers as an underdog, whatever it might be. It basically takes all of those best possible trends or systems, and it takes which ones are the most profitable. So if that thing lights up, then there is a certain trend or something that has been profitable over a number of years. And really, it's just those ones have really just produced, consistent ROI, consistent winning percentage. So the next one, it looks like a little calculator for us nerds. It's the model projections. So this is for the MLB. These are the projections from my colleague Sean Zerillo, who does a fantastic job projecting out these lines. And basically what it is he goes through and runs all his numbers. He finds what the true line should be, what the true total should be. And this is devoid of any, public perception, odds maker, shadiness, or any type of other subjective factors. And really what it does is just compares his projected line to what the actual line is. And if the difference is over 5%, this indicator will light up saying that there's at least a model projection worth of value on a game. Now, using this, with the sharp money and even the big money can be kind of useful because, sharp money usually moves lines, to take them away from, essentially what the value is there. So if you use the sharp indicator, if that's lit up and the little calculator, the model projection is also lit up, then that means that there's still edge on the game, even though smart money is playing it. So using those two things intertwined can be, very helpful and profitable to people. And the final one, it looks like just a little outline of a head on a person. That's just for our top experts on each sport. So like for MLB, it's a few guys who have been very profitable over the last 2 or 3 years. That basically lights up whatever they are betting. So if you use all this together, and it only happens, I'd say like once or twice, it happened like 3 times, I'd say so far this MLB season. But if all 5 of those light up, basically you've hit the jackpot. Yeah. And that's just like, the best possible, that's about as good as it can be. Not saying it's going to win, but it's probably as good. It's pretty dang good. Yeah. So again, it happens so rarely. It's only, however many games and over-unders and money lines so far this season, there's only been like 3 instances. So
yeah. If you're on the app, or you have the app downloaded, if you don't, go download it. But if you have the app open, or if on your phone, go open it. There usually is like a sample feature of this one game a day, right? Like they give you a little tease, right? So for instance, I'm looking at the game right now, and it's Boston versus LA is like the pro report kind of teaser with all these symbols on it. So I'm seeing that on the money line section, the sharp money and the human, I forget what that was called, the sharp top experts.
Yep.
So we got sharp action and top experts for this one.
Yep. So that just means, smart money and a couple of our experts have already bet on the Red Sox. Yeah. So
I always forget that you can't look people in the eye, Damon. I'm sorry. I just thought about that because I saw you looking at your phone there for a second. I was like, God, this guy's not even paying attention.
Well, no, I'm trying to look at the thing.
Well, no, I know, but we had a whole 10-minute discussion on an episode a couple weeks ago about how you can't look people in the eye when you're listening. It makes me laugh. Sorry, I just thought about that. But sorry, way off topic.
That's okay.
I look like an idiot just sitting here laughing in my house by myself.
Yeah, I was wondering why you're laughing. I was like,
because I saw you. It just dawned on me, and I was like, oh yeah, that's why.
That's a whole other story. We'll tell you later. So what's the difference between the money line, and the total, section of that?
So the total and the money line, it's totally separate. So that's just money that's coming in on the total, and then money that's coming in on the money line. So. We have projections for totals and money lines as well. Mm-hmm. So I think on that tease one, I believe the Red Sox one, I believe that there's big money and that there's, value on the total, and somebody's already bet the over as well. So, but then there's some sharp money on the under. So really what it is it's just a tool to help you make your own decision. It's not guiding you and telling you exactly what to do. It's just a helpful tool to, if you want to use it, great. And it can help you over the long run, but eventually it's just your money and you get to make the final decision. So, but the tools are very helpful and they have produced consistent ROI over the years. So,
your ROI on your action app looks a lot different than Damon and I's. So I think you might have some merit behind that claim.
Well, there are people at the Action Network who have way higher ROIs than I do. So
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Almost like you guys do it for a living.
What a concept. No, that's sick though. That was my first time hearing about all that, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's
obviously.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Oh, hey, Jinx. I was gonna say, I heard you talk about